call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mochler,
Here.
Graylobe,
Here.
Brady,
Here.
Peasy,
Here.
Gilbertson.
Here. Any conflict of interest declarations? Hearing none. Approve agenda. So moved. Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. Motion passes. Approval of minutes. So moved. Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Any visitors to be heard that aren't on the agenda? Okay, Michael.
Yeah.
Start with Rachel.
Yeah, we'll
Franks.
start with Rachel. So Rachel's here just on behalf of Boys and Girls Club for the grant application for round 2, year 2 of the juvenile diversion coordinator position that just needs to be re-upped every year. So I asked her to be present just so that she could answer any questions any of you may have. A couple of you, of course, weren't here for last year's grant cycle, and I can kind of just lay the foundation for that. We worked with Boys and Girls Club and Annie Broken Leg, who is employed through the state JDAI, if I've got my acronyms right, juvenile, there's grant funding that the state of South Dakota effectively pays 3 years worth of for a diversion coordinator. That's the intention of the grant, is to fund a full-time diversion coordinator for juvenile purposes. And to kind of get the program up and running. They kind of say, hey, here's year by year up to 3 years in which you can have grant funding to fully support that position. And then the intention, I think that I don't have numbers in front of me today, and we're not quite through the first fiscal year, so we'll bring that to you in like August timeframe. But is that we'll divert more kids than we have been in the past that we've been able to serve, that we'll do it at a higher rate of success. And then the state is also compensating counties back at a rate of $250 per successful juvenile diversion. So right now, we're not paying for juvenile diversion services, and we're being reimbursed. So we're in a pretty good position for the 2024 year, and then we're hoping to keep that up for the next 2 years. So this is just the necessary part where we need some the grant to be signed off on and supported by the commission in order to for the next year.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an awesome idea. The one question that I did have was you had a coordinator who left that role. Have you guys been able to fill that role?
We have someone in the hiring process right now.
Okay,
I'm hoping we'll have her starting next week.
awesome.
And in the short term, we're utilizing a gal from Brookings. Her name's Lindsay. She's great. She's coming down to Vermillion once a week and still serving the kids. And then she's also meeting with my office as well. So having someone local was definitely better for the kids, but we haven't shut down services by any means. And Lindsay coming down here and providing face-to-face services has been a huge blessing and something that we needed to continue. And that's gone well with Boys and Girls Club.
And so, and then like the on-site support in the new Boys and Girls Club facility, that's worked out. They've got like an office or a room or something they can check in with people at. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a diversion office, and it's just great being able to have those kids meet in the club and see other services and programs that are available to them as well.
And kind of keep it in a less law enforcement-y feeling situation. Yeah,
Absolutely.
this program, it's wonderful when you align a lot of goods, and this seems like I can't find what the bad is in this. It's better for the kids, it's better for our community, it's more affordable for us long-term. When you think about one night in the facility up in Sioux Falls costing now about $500, if a kid's there for, 5 days, we drop the chunk of change. So having the possibility that the kids could be on a better path. Seems great. So.
And on that note, we're also doing now, originally, as we got this kind of off the ground, the first 4 to 6 months, we were just providing diversion services. So those kids that were scoring to be placed at JDC and Sioux Falls were still going. We've now even implemented what's called conditional release, where when law enforcement, because they have to call up to JDC, they can't just bring a child up to the JDC facility. You've got to make a phone call up to JDC, and then they ultimately are the decision makers. One of the things that we are doing through this grant process that we've implemented now is what's called conditional release. And what we do is we either override or underride a child's score, because they're given a score, and that really is what dictates whether or not they're going to be placed. That's a score in what's called a RAE. Law enforcement's been utilizing that, and the state South Dakota has been for, let's say, 12 years roughly. So that if law enforcement contacts and they have a whole list of questions and a bunch of criteria, and if that meets the minimum score, and so they say, yep, this is a child that we do want you to bring up to JDC, law enforcement has been trained. We've provided those trainings through, JDAI, my office, as well as Boys and Girls Club. We've really got every law enforcement agency and almost all of the individual officers in rooms at 3 different training opportunities a few months back, where we said, hey, here's what this other tool is. It's called conditional release. If you think that this kid can stay in the community, like we can do that. We will, and I'll spare the whole story here, but essentially it's if the right kid comes in front of you, like we can contact JDC, they can score them to go up to JDC, and we can say, let's not do that. We've got good support at home. We think that they can be successful here. The big thing is that we put conditions on top of them immediately. That night they're signing documents and they're getting copies of those documents. Their parent or guardian are also signing those documents. And the big thing, why this works, why it's been shown to be effective, is they're still having a hearing in front of the judge within 48 hours of that contact. If they don't go to JDC, traditionally, law enforcement sends that report to my office, and it takes days, weeks before that child ends up in the courtroom. If we're going to go through a juvenile proceeding, here, we know that with children, especially, the closer in time, right, the punitive nature kind of comes in, the better the response generally is. So getting them in front of the judge within 48 hours of that incident, even if they don't go to JDC, is really kind of showing them like, hey, this means business. My office is still then deciding whether or not we're going to allow that child an opportunity to do diversion, or if we're going to keep them in the juvenile system. We've diverted kids from conditional release. So we still do that. We still look at that as to whether or not they're an appropriate candidate. So exactly, we're not just diverting petty thefts from Walmart, which are never going to be kids that are going to be placed at JDC. We're also looking at, kids that have more serious history, and whether or not there's a way to keep them out of JDC, which is really nothing short of a jail full of 16, 17-year-olds who have committed, often cases, pretty heinous crimes, especially with Sioux Falls. So keeping our kids out of that facility, A, saves us money, but B, really is beneficial for them and their success down the road. So we're now implementing that as well. And the juvenile diversion programming has been really the reason why that's worked. Without that, we wouldn't be able to have the skills, because the juvenile diversion coordinator has to be on top of that kid, especially on that conditional release. They're having contact with them immediately, setting up that court date, showing up with them, and getting kind of those, boundaries set right from day one. So they've been a great asset. We've utilized both systems pretty exhaustively, and I think it's gone pretty well.
Well, I make a motion to support this program and your great work on this front, and to authorize a signature of this application.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Motion passes. You have that.
Rachel, do you need my signature tape?
I do.
Want me-
Okay.
We can do that right here too. Come back.
Wasn't sure exactly who was signing, so I tried to make that authorized signing. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
County funerals?
Yeah, so I provided you here, with another application. We have another one pending, so I put, approvals, but at this point, there's just the one, so.
Move to approve the welfare request.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion passes. Then discussion for funeral assistance.
Yeah.
Approval procedure.
So through this now, we've had 4 and really now 5 requests come in for funeral assistance. It's in my short tenure now as welfare director. And what I've found out is really what the gold standard is and what every county, for the most part, I think is doing. At least it has like a full-time or more full-time staffing at welfare. What they're doing is they have a funeral assistance screening form that they have sent, and I think I discussed this with you guys last week. We're kind of, I think the welfare director community in South Dakota is moving towards somewhat of a uniform template too for that. And it's these forms are screening forms that are being sent over to all funeral homes essentially, right, in your jurisdiction. So for instance, the one that you guys just approved actually came from Miller Funeral Home up in Sioux Falls. She called me the day or the day after this individual had passed. When they got involved as the funeral director for the service. She talked to family and recognized very quickly this is an indigent person. Family's not going to be able to pay. Minnehaha County and other counties have this screening form. So she was already familiar with, hey, I need to contact Clay County's welfare director and figure out what we need to do to help facilitate this for the family. So she contacted me. I sent her this form that I have just recently created, which really just is a mirror image of Cottington counties, which she utilized to work through with the family to determine whether or not there are any assets, and B, if there's any family that's able to actually make payment. As you saw, there isn't in this situation, but sometimes there will be. So this is the purpose of this screening tool, is to kind of flesh out what assets are of the decedent, and also to determine whether or not there's family who can and should then be responsible for payment. One thing that, is also, so what counties are doing is they're approving the funeral expense to the county before services are being rendered. And that puts everything in a weird time crunch, and it makes sense that you need to have that approval from the county before. I know Yankton County, I believe, because I've spoken to a few. I think Yankton County and maybe Hand County as well told me that they have just one commissioner, probably the chair, assigned to the funeral. The welfare director contacts the chair or someone on the commission and provides them with the screening tool and the information. And then they ultimately that one individual on the commission makes a decision as to whether or not the county is going to approve the services. And the reason why they do that is so that the funeral home can then move forward with providing the services, knowing that there's going to either be a county payment or there's not going to be a county payment. Administrative rule, there is an administrative rule too. It's 2045-0511, and really all that stands for is it just says that a funeral home has to cremate human remains that are not embalmed may not be held by the crematory authority for longer than 6 days before cremation. So they have to, within 6 days, provide the cremation services by law, which, of course, we only hold a meeting 3 times a month. And if we have, a couple weeks ago, we had that situation come in where I had 12 days, 14 days where, we didn't formally have a decision by the board. So what I would request, and I think it'd probably be appropriate for a resolution that I haven't prepared yet, because I want to hear you guys' opinions, but my recommendation would be to do what other smaller counties are doing and have one person on the board making that decision, so that we have the screening tool set in place. The screening tool will go to whoever's making the decision by by someone on the commission is making the decision. in a timely manner, within a couple of days from the date of the death, preferably, and certainly within that 6-day timeframe. Just so that we can allow the funeral home to move forward with the process pursuant to what's required of them with law. So kind of puts everybody in a weird spot, but that seems to be the prevailing theme is, someone has been assigned to making that decision from the commission.
Makes sense.
It's either that or a lot of emergency meetings.
Right.
And I don't believe that we've denied one since I've been on the commission either, so. it's
Well,
Usually. pretty
Not
quick.
since it's come this, if it gets here. not-
Right, right.
But there has been, I mean, through-
Which would
They've been
still be
doing
going
that.
through your office.
Screening.
anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly. If the screening tool indicates that they're not a candidate for, they're not a good fit for what's required by law, then I'm not gonna be suggesting that, the county at this point, award it. So you wouldn't need.
I'd say in a sense, we could grant that power to you, but it is always nice to have a couple of different people when we're talking about an outlay of funds, where you
Right.
prepare it, you vet it, and then pass it out to someone else.
Somebody's gotta sign it from
If
this.
Travis says you want, I'd be willing to do that because I'm familiar with the welfare stuff, through my office and stuff. I'll volunteer if you need somebody on the commission to do it.
Yeah, ultimately, it's up to you guys. I think you can vest that power in me and I can make that decision. If you guys think it's more appropriate
don't-
that the decision
yeah.
go to the board, whichever way.
How about we make an appointment today and then add it to the January 1st appointments? It just becomes one of the things that we. appoint.
Well, the only thing to slow down confusion, and not that I want, the appointment.
Yeah.
But the chairman's always,
Oh,
they're
that's fine.
always gonna be there. There's always, when this board changes, there'll always be a chairman. And Mike doesn't have to try and remember, who did they appoint? When it's always,
Unless we appoint them, and then you go.
well, no,
I was just.
Michael's gonna be the first.
No, but you were saying that you could be that person.
I'm saying, I think you guys as a board could make that decision.
So
I
you
would
can
be
just
happy,
do-
though.
Take care of it.
You could make it so that
Oh,
it's
It'd
up
be
to
one
me.
less person to deal. And if you're willing to take
That's
that
fine.
on, I think that would.
Yeah,
make
no, I
you
thought
more
you were
sense, one less
suggesting that.
person to.
Have somebody on.
I'm saying it can go either way. I was leaving it up to you guys. I can
Oh.
take it, or if someone wants to
Or you
look
have
at
two
what I'm
also.
doing.
What if we did this? What if but I think generally, I was trying to think like if we wanted to grant any sort of appeal process, but there's no one to do an appeal,
Right.
If you decide, no, that there's no family members,
Right.
the deceased is deceased. So, yeah, I'm comfortable with Michael doing that.
I say we do, let Michael do it and then see how that goes. And if we need to add it to appointment next January, we do it then.
Well, he can always come to us
Correct.
with it. If he's got a
If
question.
there's one that's iffy, I'll probably bring it to you anyway. And ultimately, someone else in my office is gonna take this role over down the road, and they will bring that request to me. So I would be comfortable with it starting with my office, if you guys are, and then if I have any issues with that, I'll bring that back to you, but, I'm the one or my office is the one dealing with it directly. That I'm absolutely on board with that, and it kind of stops.
And you said this is kind of an extraordinary year, so.
Generally, from what I've seen, is there's 6 to 8 requests per year that are granted, and unfortunately, the timing has been now we've got 4 that are being granted in 7 days, and it sounds like a 5th one that'll likely be on the agenda next time we meet.
Well, it sounds like we have consensus, so would you want to maybe just draft that? It seems like something that should be better than one of us just saying it on.
Cause we don't have to sign anything on this, correct?
Correct.
Cause if we had to sign something, one of us would have to do that.
Right.
Right,
We
yeah,
don't
no,
have to sign
no
it.
signatures needed. I can prepare a resolution,
Yeah, just-
and put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and it'll just read that my office is gonna be responsible for making, or that I will be responsible for making that determination. And then once a decision's made on them, then ultimately, payment goes through the auditor's office anyway. That's how we ran before, and that's the appropriate way to do it, I believe, moving forward.
Good. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Cory?
Just here for the South Dakota DOT signature for spraying the state roads.
Same as it's always been.
So they just reimburse us for our time when we're working on their roads and it's easier. So, yep. Sense. I moved to authorize signature.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion passes.
appropriate compensation? Does it cover our costs?
Yeah.
I hope so.
If it isn't, the state does what they want anyway, so.
We don't have to do it.
No, I guess that's true. You just, we can come down and do it.
I mean, they just, yeah, I mean, they just do it because it's, well, they flick the liability too. That's the thing.
They do love
Want to
that.
stop upstairs? Nicole has the seal to put the bottom of the bag.
Thanks. Vouchers, everybody get to see those? Pay the bills? A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Flap grant.
All right. So we've devoted a lot of time to this one, so hopefully today's will not have to take a long time, but so at the last meeting, I made a motion with a process to move forward, and that motion failed. I was disappointed about that, but I realized after I got home that I had the unpleasant duty then to call our contact at Federal Highways and explain to that contact why we were declining the funds. And I realized that I didn't actually have that responsibility yet because we had not made a motion to decline the funds. We were actually technically in the same position that we were the day before the meeting. So when I spoke with our contact at Federal Highways, I got some good information from her. She did inform us that declining these funds does not make us less likely to win an award in the future, even an award we could resubmit the same application and be awarded for that. She said, especially in light of all the uncertainty this year in so many areas across the country. So I put this on the agenda because Jill Locken, that's our contact. She did ask that we try to move towards actual closure of this, so that they could, just for process, it would make it easier for them to put the funds back into the pool, so that they can be awarded to a different community. So that's what will occur. A different community will get their project funded. But since we didn't have a motion to decline the funds, I could not tell our contact at Federal Highways that we had declined the funds. We simply had not requested obligation of the funds. So we are still sitting here with the same award, and Federal Highways has still granted that to us. And since I don't wish for us to decline these funds, I don't wish to make that motion, but it does need to be on the agenda so that we can take an official action. So hopefully that's clear enough for everyone.
Make a motion that we decline the funds for the flap grant.
Second. I have a motion and a second. I'll just turn my computer off. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
I don't have any building project updates. We have a meeting tomorrow. Joint jurisdiction. Anything, Dave? Other commissioner reports?
I do have one. So we had our Clay County Youth Trust Fund annual meeting yesterday. It's a small body. It's a wonderful service. It's a wonderful gift. A lot of it is supported by a memorial gift. And it provides, yesterday we awarded $6,750. Yeah, $6,750 of scholarships to 4-H students. I believe one of the students, we have 3 scholarship programs. One of them doesn't require that you're a 4-H student. So one went to a student that wasn't 4-H, but otherwise it was supporting 4-H students. Awards of between between $500 and $1,000, which is great. We also provide support to other organizations that support the youth of our county. So we just set our budget for the year, and we'll have $2,000 available for for awards to area groups, like Boys and Girls Club that support our youth. So, just wanted to share that update with people, but also share that it is a small board. And many of the people that are on the board have been on there for a very, very long time and are excited about maybe handing the reins off to someone else, and maybe handing the reins off to people that would be interested in just kind of modernizing, freshening things up. Some of the people on the board don't have, myself included, don't have the best ideas about how to message and get the word out there about these opportunities that are available. So anyway, I just wanted to take this opportunity when we have these commission reports here to throw out there that if anyone is interested in joining that board, we do have a couple seats that we're interested in filling that are just vacant right now. So people can reach out to me if they're interested. And hopefully we can get some fresh faces on there. So, yeah.
Any other reports? No new educator yet, Kevin? Oh, okay. So executive session then we need for personnel?
Legal, but let's cite the statute. That motion.
Yeah, you want to make it, Kevin?
I move we move into executive session for personnel and legal.
Yes, and then be pursuant to SDCL 125-2 subsection 1 and subsection.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes. Fortunately, we gotta kick everybody out.
Move to come out of executive session.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes. We're in regular session. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, we're adjourned.